Hello and welcome to Buying and Beyond, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of retail buying. We're Kate and Linz, and together we have over 30 years experience in retail.
We'll be talking all things retail buying and beyond, so grab your drink of choice and come and have a giggle with us.
Oh, hi!
Hi!
It's nearly Christmas!
How has that happened? I feel this year has just literally been a blink.
Flown by, hasn't it?
Yes.
So true, blinking, you miss it. But my tree's up.
Your tree's up.
It's not yet. But it's ready. I'm really ready for it. I know where I'm going to put it. I'm ready for it.
Got it out the loft.
Yeah, I found the place that I want to go and get it.
Actually, are you a real or are you an artificial?
Real. Through and through real. And I was just going to say, I've just found the place that I'm going to go and get it from.
Okay.
I'm going to go and chop it down myself.
Oh, I love that. And put it on top of the car.
Yeah, love that. I mean, I'm probably not going to be able to carry it, so I'm going to have to get in reinforcements to help me carry it in and get it in. Right, have you ever seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Yes, it's such a funny film, isn't it?
But hey, here we are.
Michael Bublé, let's not forget about him. That screams Christmas to me when I hear Michael Bublé, you know.
Oh, I do love
He is a classic.
The boobs.
Yep.
The boobs.
The boobs.
But yeah, here we are for our final episode.
This season.
The season 3.
This season has flown by.
So we're ending with a Christmas special. We have both bought Christmas for how many years?
Oh gosh.
To be fair, I actually think you might have
I
overtaken
out-Christmased
me.
you.
I think you out-Christmased me. I started it, you finished it, mic drop.
Thank you.
I mean, in different places, but...
Yeah, for sure. I bought it for about 7.5 years.
Yeah, see, I think I did 3?
Wow.
4.
But you did it
Maybe
way
even
before
5,
me.
but I did it, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to find out.
And at different levels as well, because
Yeah.
I did it as an assistant buyer as part of one of our areas.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I even did it as a BA, but that was more of like Christmas jewellery.
Oh, yeah, I did that too. So I could... Oh, gosh, you could say I've been my Christmas for 16 years then, really?
Probably.
Like an aspect of it.
Yeah.
She's looking at me like, I don't think you can get away with that, mate.
I mean, I know we're buyers and we like to, state our numbers, but I think a
Round
merchandiser,
up.
might have something to say about that.
Yeah, but at some point that year I was
like
buying
rounding up a
Christmas
little bit too
products.
much. Maybe you need to round that back down.
Oh dear.
But I do like that though. So yeah, it's one of our favourite areas to buy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You can just have so much fun, be really creative. You can be quite tongue-in-cheek, and everyone's happy normally in a sign-off. I mean, it's harder when you get to trading, but in the sign-off,
everybody is laughing at the twerking Santa. And then when the twerking Santa is only 50% sold through come Christmas Eve, no one's laughing about that twerking Santa anymore.
whose stupid idea
Who was it to buy that?
Santa? Twerking
And
Santa.
who upped the buy? You did.
Yeah, everyone gets a bit silly in a Christmas sign-off. I think that can be the problem. Everyone just gets a bit carried away.
Yeah, you're right, because it's January and
you're bringing a
Christmas
bit
is
of
a long
light to the
time
darkness.
Yeah, exactly.
But before you even get to Christmas in terms of trading, you do have to get over the lump that is Black Friday. Like, love it or hate it. And I don't know where I sit for it.
Yeah, I think this is almost a debate we should have with ourselves and our listeners. I don't know where I sit with it, because I think from the retailers that I work for, we didn't go in too hard with it. It's only over the recent years
But it's got bigger and bigger. I remember when it first started, I loved it.
It was more about electricals, wasn't it?
Oh,
Than anything.
I was going to say, when I first really got into it, it wasn't electricals, because it's not really a passion of mine. But I remember making a note in my diary that it was coming. I don't think as a retailer at the time we were participating in it, but I knew quite a few fashion retailers were, And I remember making sure I didn't have any meetings in my diary on the morning so that I could sit at my desk and go through all of the hot deals.
Oh, I remember you once worked for a retailer where you had to be on call.
Oh, good.
For Black Friday,
God.
right?
Yeah. And that was an interesting retailer because you had to be on call for all of the peaks because it was a startup that had been going through what they called its teenage years. They were putting processes in place, but they weren't quite established yet. But they were bigger than just a startup. So there was still so much manual work. So you had to be manually checking stock and refreshing it as people are buying it because the stock system wasn't talking properly to the sales system, so you could get to a point where you'd oversold.
Wow.
So you needed to be watching it and checking it and then manually taking that product off the website before it's sold out.
Gosh.
Or sold too many. So it was a real and if you think about it, when it was first a startup, that's an easy-ish. I mean, now there's so many systems in place, I think, that you don't, even as a small business, you don't need to be sitting there watching the numbers. But as a small business, it's kind of manageable. You've got a small number of team members. They just sort of sit, refresh it every hour, see what it's looking like. You've got enough stock to see it kind of clocking down. Do you know what I mean? You're okay. But as you're getting bigger, there's more demand. You've got more customers coming to your store and shopping. Also, close to the time, because it was an online retailer, people were coming. I mean, obviously, you've still got the postage dates, but it's not about having to get out. So actually, the cut-offs can be a little bit later than maybe someone needing, depending on where the days fall, than someone needing to get out into town on the weekend, and suddenly they're like, oh God, I forgot, it's on Friday, it's Monday.
Or where they're sending it.
Yeah, where they're sending it, that's so true. But then when it came to Black Friday, wanting to participate in that was a real a bit of a dilemma, or even a debate to have there, and it was an interesting one, because do you or do you not partake in it? You know, if you're a retailer that is just about occasions and about gifts, does Black Friday feel right?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a great gift for so-and-so in the Black Friday sale.
It doesn't ring off the tongue.
It doesn't really sit so comfortably, does it? But the retailer did decide to partake in it. And to be fair, in a way to clear through some stocks, and also just to see what kind of a volume you could hit.
Yeah.
Like if you had a tight window with deep promotions, how big could this department be?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it didn't sit right with me. I did put my views forward. The decision was still to go for it. But that was a much harder one than to be managing the stock on, because it is moving a lot quicker.
And you don't know the history on it if you suddenly decided to go. But in the other way around, when you do go, you have to do it year on year now. Or you have to find something that's going to drive exactly the same amount of footfall.
Because you're always going to be up against it.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really difficult decision to make, and not one you should make lightly.
Yeah, because are you just pulling your sales forward? You know, at the end of the day, would you have actually made the same amount or sold the same amount? You know, could you have actually made more profit had you not gone? Because customers were still going to come. They would have come a bit later. You've got to hold your nerve a bit. And that's things you say, like, if you decide you're going to do it, you need to go for it. Because if you then decide you're not going to go for it, but you don't worry because you're, in theory, going to make it up in those times. But as soon as you get to the Monday after Black Friday and they look at the sales from the week before and you haven't made and you're massively down, everyone starts panicking and wanting to turn on some sort of promotion.
Yeah.
Even though you're like, no, it's going to come.
Yeah. But we don't want to talk too much about trading today, do we? We want to talk about the fun time we had buying Christmas, right? So I thought, okay, we would talk about the journey of how we buy Christmas and just some of the fun memories that we've had, some of the sample mishaps, some of the great trips, and let's start. Well, it always started for me. I don't know how it started for you, with a theme workshop, which ironically we would hold in July. Christmas in July.
Christmas in July.
You know, because you got to start thinking about it. You got to be briefing your suppliers. You're going
Which I
on a
think
trip in October.
does feel
You've
a
got to
bit-
get ready.
It does feel a bit odd, again, as like a consumer, to be like, Christmas in July. But then I think you just get into the swing of it and you're like, yeah, it's Christmas all year round when you buy Christmas.
Oh, it is Christmas all year round.
But there is also that show, isn't there, Spirit of Christmas? And I do think quite a few customers do go there to go in, because that's customer facing, not just trade.
Mm-hmm.
I think quite a few customers do get in there, like particularly people that love Christmas, me. Not that I go and buy my presents because I'm not that organised, but quite a few people do buy their Christmas presents quite early on, don't they? Like ahead of the rush, people are like, oh, I've got to beat the queues. I bought my Christmas presents in July. I think my auntie does that, actually.
Yeah, and there's loads of retailers these days. Well, not loads and loads, but there's a handful, shall we say, of retailers these days that have Christmas shops all year round, especially in the tourist spots. So look at Harrods; they've got their shop under the store. You've got shops in Edinburgh on the Royal Mile that have Christmas all year round. So there's obviously a demand for it, mate. Christmas all year round.
People that love Christmas that much.
It's crazy, isn't it? Really is crazy. So we always started with a really exciting theme workshop, and we would have a really, really fun discussion with loads of different departments in the business and set our themes for the next year. And it would always be a really interesting meeting, because my friend would run it and she was great at running a meeting, and she'd always start with an icebreaker.
Oh God, I hate icebreakers, but tell me it was a good one.
Well, she'd always start with all these different things, and it always ended up being like something that you had to say, either something you had to say that about you that no one knew, which was always really dangerous because some people brought some really interesting, potentially inappropriate stories.
You get to know everyone that
Yeah,
little bit better.
But you've got an array of levels in the room, from some junior people that are really involved in Christmas, so you want them in the room to be on the journey, up to a director, because you want them to see
Who's like,
the process.
I eat mince pies in bed. And you're like, oh my God, that director eats mince pies in bed.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of a bit of a funny audience to then have these icebreaker questions. But anyway.
That's quite nice though.
Yeah.
Because I hate an icebreaker, because off on a slight tangent, the worst icebreaker I think I've ever had to do, I don't know if you were at this offsite with me ever, but we all broke for lunch, and then when we came back, we went back to our seats, and then they said, okay, so underneath your notebooks, or underneath the sheet of paper on your desk is an animal. Okay, so don't show anyone else. Underneath there is the name of an animal, right? So check what your animal is, and then you all need to move into the other room, please, and you need to act out your animal.
Oh my God.
And find your other animals. So that was to get us into groups for the next thing. It was bloody awful. There were people going, moo, around the room. Oink, oink.
Oh my
Quack, quack.
That is brilliant, mate. If you're listening, use this one there. What were you?
I think I was a tiger. So I was going around the room going, raw. Raw. Trying to find other tigers that were going raw. And it was like, again, it was because...
And the CEO was an elephant.
That's the thing, exactly. Because it was an all... I think actually some were monkeys having to go around going,
Oh my God, that's
and similar
so funny.
because you had like a real array of like levels, because it was like a whole department off site.
I hate that. Would have been brilliant for us, because we once went to the zoo. We had like a room in the zoo to do a workshop, and that would have been really fitting.
Perfect icebreaker. Oh my God. But I just was like, are you... I mean, I, as we all know, love drama, theatricals, etc.
She's like,
but for some people, if you're particularly, I don't know, like introverted or just a bit more shy, that is your worst nightmare, to try and have to act out an animal in front of your boss and all your peers. Yeah. Anyway, completely digress. Sorry, I had to share that.
That's a really funny story. Brilliant. Yeah, it's a really fun meeting though, I think, and it's a really, really interesting way of seeing how every department approaches it. So you'll have online marketing, customer, you'd have an element of a few of the merchandising team, everybody in the room, and just talking through lessons learned, and also you know, from the buyer's point of view, everybody would be talking about all the trade shows they'd been to and all the inspirational images and colours and textures and things like that they've seen. So it was a really fun, all-rounded meeting, bringing everybody together and setting the themes that everyone's going to buy to for Christmas for the following year.
Love that.
Yeah. So how did you do something similar, or how did you get started?
I did mood boards, but I bought all of Christmas like novelty things. We did bestsellers, like what had worked, what hadn't, but it was much more like it was Christmas decks, it was novelty, and it was gifting. It wasn't like Christmas trees and Christmas lights and it wasn't like, you know, baubles. So like there weren't sort of stories to set up. It was and
more to the brand than to the story.
Yeah. What felt right for the brand. Definitely did, like, you know, themes in terms of, we did a comp shop and we looked at trends. So what had other people been doing? How could we take some of that inspiration? What were the kind of the themes coming through, say, from some of the like larger trend forecasters, but also just like what icons had we been seeing. Like it was a real time for, it was when like a lot of the real novelty things started really coming through. And we were well known for doing a lot of novelty on jewellery.
Yeah.
So anything that had sold really well as a novelty on jewellery, we would then be like, okay, well, that'd be great to translate to a Christmas deck. So yeah, those kind of things. And then it was classic Christmas, a lot of it as well.
Yeah,
like,
you can't get away from that trad.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't reinvent the wheel.
I've heard that said to me so many times before.
Yeah. But in most places that I've worked, that's the same. Like you love to inject it with Christmas llamas. And they're really fun and they give it a pop. And I think,
gosh, the llama.
Yeah, and it's things like they're almost like press stories. And they're like the things that get people like excited, and like they'll draw people in. So, oh my god, look at that! Let's go look at that. Or the sprouts. Oh my god, the number of sprouts we did. Oh
gosh, and avocados.
And actually, our sprouts probably, I guess, because they're seen as a true Christmas thing, because they were probably a Christmas novelty that actually sold pretty much in line with a Father Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
I didn't have that much success with sprouts. I'm not going to lie.
This is more probably about our customer than
sure.
and your customer. But yes, there were themes, but they weren't quite sort of as set as this is this theme, this is this theme, this is this theme. We'd be like, we're going to do novelty Christmas. These are the icons that we're really going to go for, and we're going to do traditional Christmas, and it's just going to be a refresh, but we're going to keep the palette very much of the kind of red, white, green.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I remember always sitting in that workshop thinking, how can we change trad this year? Like, what could we do? And we're like, we'll change the ruby red to the tomato red. You know, it was just
changing the tone slightly.
Very
sometimes.
difficult.
I found that, particularly in sort of more recent places, that sometimes it wasn't necessarily about changing like the colours, because we knew that there was a particular emerald colour and a particular ruby red that they liked. But
Christmas red, we used to call it.
We could do it with stripes one year, like a candy cane stripe one year, and we could do it with a tartan the next year. So we weren't changing too much, and you could change the figures slightly, but a friendly Father Christmas is really hard like to draw. So actually sometimes just trying to redraw it and you're like, it just doesn't look as friendly as it did last year.
It's all about the face.
So,
it's all about just the face on a Santa.
Keep him as he is, and let's just change some of the like things around him. Let's not change his face, let's not change his colours, but instead let's do, or it could be a spot, which is more like a snowflake or a star print or something like that makes it a little bit different, but without changing too much. Different. Yeah, you're not moving too far away from what people feel like comforted by. And I think that's one of the things about Christmas. It's like, it's really comforting for a lot of people. Like that's the season to all get together with family. Often families maybe haven't seen each other for the whole year, and like that's the time that they get together, and it's really quite precious. So you don't want to be like, shoving too much down their throat. On the other hand, there are some people that don't like that kind of family Christmas, maybe don't get on with their family so well. So you want to do something that's a little bit more like fun, light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek. Maybe they're going to just I don't know, an anti-Christmas party, and you can do all the like the teals and the pinks and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or you get some people go all out with decorating their house, but some people just want like a mantelpiece tree, and you know,
especially if maybe they're not going to be there for Christmas
Yes,
as well. You know, you just want a
days.
couple of bits, but you don't want to be too full on Christmas. And also because you can start those kind of things earlier as well.
Mm-hmm.
The longevity for those kind of products, whether it's like the candle piece or like the faux floral.
Yeah, all the faux
wreath type things, or the ones that you drape. What are they called? The long ones that you drape across your mantelpiece. It's not a wreath, garland. That's it.
Yes.
Oh gosh, sorry, another slight tangent, but I really remember the first time I was allowed to decorate my bedroom for Christmas, and I know, because normally it's just like you just dress the Christmas tree, and then I remember being like, please can I buy some baubles and some tinsel, and I covered my entire bed and I strung baubles up, and it was all silver, pink and turquoise themed.
Wow.
I had like proper pink tinsel,
I'm not a fan of tinsel.
Not anymore. I loved it back then. It was like full and bushy, and it's really exciting because the texture is really nice. So think like, I mean, I was 10, loved the feel of it. But tinsel's an interesting one anyway.
It's
just
an
from
interesting
a
debate,
sustainable
isn't it? Yeah,
point of view.
The whole of Christmas is an interesting sustainability debate, in my opinion. You know, there is a lot of noise around that being not so environmentally friendly. However, people do pack away and reuse.
I think that's the thing, is making it easy for them. So somewhere I worked with storage boxes.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that people do keep it year in, year out.
Or the packaging is a storage box.
The packaging is a storage box, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And not having to change that. Sometimes the problem with trends and themes is that people have one theme one year, another theme. They'll go for a blue theme one year, you know, blues and whites and silvers, and then the next year they want to do like the coppers, and it's like, well, what happens to all of those?
Oh, the other ones, I know. I think that's really interesting about the press theme as well. You know, you always want to have a press theme in Christmas, but like you say, is that going to be reusable next year? So, for example, one of my favourite themes actually was a theme that I came up with called Festive Fiesta.
Love that.
So it was a cactus Christmas tree.
Yes.
Cactus Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And it was when the Frida Kahlo exhibition was happening. So we were thinking, oh, how can we, you know, sort of celebrate that. So we had loads of Frida Kahlo, Christmas decorations, and we had loads of little mini cacti Christmas decorations, loads of hot pink, fun, bright colours, and it was just such a great statement, and it really caught the press. You know, really, really helped to sell all the other ranges as well.
And you just buy tight on it. You have something that's really exciting and you buy tight on it.
Yeah, so that was really good fun.
I've got a little cactus that I put on my tree every year.
Do you? There you go. Maybe it was from my range. Who knows?
It was from mine, actually.
Oh, mate.
Sorry.
You're like, I actually did it way before you. So.
No, I'm not saying that.
You're inspired by me.
But my tree is covered with all of the decorations that
I
designed. Yeah,
I like that. It's nice. So that's all about the theming, and then we kind of move into thinking about how much growth are we going to put on the following year, which is always so difficult with Christmas because I think especially over the last few years with COVID and everything, obviously we had that absolute mental year where everybody was in their houses. They just wanted some light fun. They wanted to go big. So we had a big booming year, as we did in many other sectors as well, many other product types. But on Christmas, it's sort of like everybody has been bitten a bit more by the bug, I think, from those years. But where, you know, how do you then measure your growth on that? It's very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and also, as you say, sustainability-wise, do you want to be seeing so much growth every single year? Like, do you want to be encouraging your customer to buy new every single year? Like, it's a hard one. You want to see really growth, sure. And actually, as we kind of there's more technology, you can see, like, is it new customers? How do you attract new customers rather than the same customers to come back and buy something different?
Yeah, and I think it's all about store experience. I think that's where the focus needs to be to help drive more sales. Is store experience. Everybody at Christmas wants to come in and peruse your Christmas range.
And meet Santa.
Meet Santa, you know, take the dog to meet Santa. There's all these different things that people do these days, but it is all about store experience. It's not necessarily about driving more purchases. It's about, getting the people in to have a nice time in your stores, and we know the States do that really well, and we've been lucky enough to go out there quite a few times, haven't we, to shop and be inspired by. I know we talked about this in a previous episode.
Yeah. But same but different.
Yeah.
First time you go, you're like, oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then the next year you go, it's the
same amazing.
Still great, but deja vu.
Yeah, exactly. The Rockefeller tree's got the same lights on it. You're like, ooh. I've been inspired by this before. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously a highlight of buying Christmas, is being able to go and travel. I think I did Paris one year as well, which was really great. And Scandinavia as well. You need that inspiration though to put into your briefs. Yeah. Otherwise it becomes really hard to get inspired by just going out to China and, rummaging around in the showrooms and the factories over there, which are incredible for Christmas. And it's great to see what's happening in other markets too, because a lot of them buy for all over the world, don't they? They have customers for all over the world. So it's really interesting to see what they're doing in Australia. I always remember that one of my suppliers supplied a big retailer in Australia, and this turquoise blue colour was really big for them. It was like a summery Santa. Obviously.
Yeah, summer Santa.
Because they have a very sunny Christmas day, don't they?
Yeah.
But they're still buying Santas and things like that. It's quite funny because you think, you just don't associate, Christmas with the heat.
Then I guess that's then what's novelty for us is classic for them. Is like there's so many Christmas decks of novelty. Santa in his board shorts carrying a surfboard.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh, they had loads of those. And I tried to bring in a yoga Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was on the forefront.
Yeah.
Of cutting edge.
Yeah.
Of development with my yoga Santa, but it didn't get through the sign off.
Oh, that's a shame.
I know, but I loved it. Maybe the proportions weren't quite right. When you're just trying to but it won't look like that eventually. Her arm will be balancing in a downward dog position.
Proportions are always a difficult one.
Yes.
Wasn't there some ginormous?
Oh my gosh, I brought in some 2-meter Santas, and they just look really skinny.
Really long. They hadn't really done the proportions quite right.
They didn't really stuff them properly, and they just looked really skinny and gangly, and so they didn't get through the sign off, which was really sad. I was thinking, oh my God, these are going to be brilliant.
Who doesn't love a big Santa?
Yeah, they actually look quite scary. What, have you had any other sample mishaps on Christmas?
Sample mishaps. Oh, the thing is, so many things did get through because it was almost like the weirder the better.
Yeah.
I remember doing one of my favourites. It wasn't a sample mishap as such. We got there in the end, but it was really hard to do. It was one of my favourite things ever, and I have one of them. I think one of the awful samples, but it was a baseball cap that says "I Heart Santa." Those American ones that are or "I Heart Ibiza" or those kind of cups you can get. But it was like a big NY. American baseball cap. "I Heart NY." So I love Santa in big red glitter, and then it had reindeer antlers coming out the sides of it.
Yeah.
So you were a reindeer.
There was a lot
wearing
going on
a baseball cap. Bloody loved it. But it was just really annoying because they couldn't get the shape of the cap right. I wanted it to be one of those really big American ones, baseball-y caps.
Yeah.
Where you can, there's a big panel along the front where you can see it. But they kept doing, a more of a soft baseball cap, which meant that you couldn't see the wording when you put it on because it was sitting too much over your head, on a curve. And I was
no. Say "I Heart"?
Well, you could just see the bottom of, Santa, but not even read the word. But I mean, we did many iterations on it, and in the end it was fine, but it wasn't quite. I kept being no, that's not the shape of the baseball cap. I want almost a long, a lid, a long lid.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, it's so hard to get these things right, isn't it? We've had quite a few sample mishaps, but one of my favourites was my BMA opened it and she was dying with laughter for the whole rest of the day because, unfortunately, it was basically a cat holding a cupcake or something like that. I think it was a cat, or was it it might have been a reindeer. Anyway.
And that sounds about right. A cat
holding a cupcake. I'm just trying to think how it made it Christmassy. I think it was like maybe a cat dressed as a reindeer. You know how you got like different
just a
things
cat in
like
a Christmas
that.
hat.
Yeah. So it was holding a cupcake, but the cupcake unfortunately had fallen down, so it was pointing outwards and in between its legs. And the cupcake proportions to the cat were completely off. So it just looked like a very rude decoration.
Oh, God.
And we just could not stop laughing, especially as we had to take a picture of it and send the picture to the supplier
to explain to them why this doesn't look quite right.
You might want to check the production on this line because you could have quite a few product recalls.
Oh, God.
But we just could not stop laughing. It's so funny. My gosh. But so you can be so creative, can't you, with Christmas and briefing suppliers and coming up with new ideas. I think that's what I loved about it the most was just coming up with those new ideas and seeing how much you could push your factories with sampling and, you know, in terms of creativity and what they could achieve. And they were all so great at it as well because they've been doing Christmas for so long.
Yeah, they had such great expertise.
There's such great expertise, but they also had a bit of an idea on the market as well. Like they had an idea on what everybody was buying and what everybody was producing. And you'd often see especially in lighting, from different factory to factory, you have the same thing cropping up. So you could see what the next animal, the next shape, or the next key silhouette was because everybody out there was doing a version of it. So really, I mean, lighting factories for me were the most amazing factories to go into. I think
super interesting.
Yeah, really interesting manufacturing processes. I think Christmas, some people don't understand how handmade a lot of the stuff is for Christmas, especially on sort of things like acrylic lighting, which, you know, you've got these fantastic, really creative people creating models that they carve themselves, you know, bears and reindeers and whatever. And then they're actually piping on the lighting wax.
Amazing.
You know, and so they have to have such skill.
Yeah.
It's
and you
incredible.
don't think about any of that when you see it, particularly when it's a novelty product, because you just find it funny, you laugh and move on. You don't think about how that might have been created.
Yeah. Animation factory. Remember the first time I went to an animation factory? Oh my gosh, it was just very weird, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, because obviously they're creating all the sounds and like all the mechanisms and being in the showroom and going and seeing, you know, turning on all the animation and all these like noises everywhere. Oh gosh, especially when you've just landed and you're a bit jet lagged and you're like, oh my god,
delirious,
what's going on?
And then they're full of a room of sounds and lights. And
exactly. So yeah, fascinating category to buy. Kept me entertained for a very long time.
Yeah.
But obviously we then get into, once we get back from our trips and our trade shows and all that kind of stuff, we're actually into Christmas at that real time, but you're really, really focused on putting together ranging for next year. As soon as everybody gets back from Christmas break, you're straight into a sign-off. So I always remember thinking, I just don't get a break. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, are you enjoying your Christmas downtime at work? I'm like, no, this is the busiest time of my year. And they think it's the busiest time of the year because you're trading, but it's not actually. It's the busiest time as a buyer for sign off, range building, putting together next year's range because you've got to book it all before Chinese New Year.
Exactly. And Chinese New Year would just get bigger and bigger and bigger each year. That you'd be like, no,
earlier.
You'd be like, no, we need to do that now, but you'd be wanting to wait before you got a feel for Christmas to make sure that you had everything. Exactly. So you'd have to make sure you did some briefs up front, and then you'd leave a little bit of space for some that you could do closer to the time, and then get those out. But then those would be the samples you'd be chasing in. So over Christmas, I remember one supplier used to gift us a panettone, which one I loved because because of the whole
I
anti-bribery
do love a
thing,
panettone.
which, you know, is very serious.
Mm-hmm.
But all of your gifts from any suppliers
Had to go into the hamper.
would get intercepted
had
at
to
the
go.
post room.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you wouldn't even know about it. That would be frustrating. You couldn't even thank people. But edibles would get through.
Oh yes.
Like, well, obviously not like
that
like biscuits and things like that have got, you know, like
Long
hampers
life.
and things, like long life tablets would. But like edibles, like I remember one supplier sent us like cupcakes. It's like, well, you can't really put that into raffles, so we were allowed those. They could come up, they were great. And one supplier, you could probably say a panettone was long life. Anyway, it seemed to manage to get through to us, which was amazing. And it was always a ginormous panettone. Before working at this retailer, I'd never had a panettone in my life. Never even heard of a panettone. And
what an education for you.
And that got me through. I didn't like peel and things, but it all changed when I had to work so late on buying Christmas with my merchandiser, and we would just eat panettone, an entire panettone.
Yeah.
And I am forever thankful to that supplier for sending in that panettone. Each year I would wait with bated breath for the panettone to
about
arrive.
The edibles. Do you remember? This was when we used to work together. We used to have a supplier on the bags team that would go to the local, it was obviously an overseas supplier, go to the local cheese shop and buy a huge brie wheel. Do you remember that?
Oh, vaguely.
Huge brie wheel, surely, because brie was your favourite thing at that
I know,
point.
but only vaguely, because I wasn't...
This huge brie wheel would turn up and you're right, it couldn't go in the raffle because it would go off.
Yeah, so you just got to eat it.
We were eating brie for
like... my favourite thing.
6 days.
If I could eat brie all day, every day, I would.
Maybe that time will come. But Christmas is to be here before we know it.
Do you know, I do remember arriving though in the post would be from some of the, I think it was one particular Chinese supplier, and they were, what are they? They're almost like made of, oh gosh, they were like almost made of a nut or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh God, Florentines.
No.
Oh, okay.
They're delicious.
Nougat?
No.
Marzipan?
No.
Something?
Okay, no. They're a Chinese delicacy.
Oh. They're Chinese. And they're made of nuts and they're a Chinese delicacy.
I feel like there was some sort of nut, but maybe it's not nut. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
But I really
wake up in the middle of the night and go,
I'm just going to remember a minute. Oh my God, it was that!
Yeah, exactly.
I remember them coming and being a bit like... But because it was a treat that came through and it was an edible, I made sure I ate it. But I wasn't really that keen. But, you know, I made the most of it.
Well done, you. You took one for the team. Yeah, so obviously then that leads us into the sign-off. And as you said at the very beginning of this episode, everybody is very silly in the sign-off, aren't they, for Christmas? But I think it's one of those ones where everyone has opinions as well, which makes it so hard, especially different people in different departments.
Definitely.
They just have... So it's all opinion based, and I think you have to rein it in and be like, what's right for our customer?
It's opinion based and it's very passionate.
Yeah.
But as we've said, like, you know, because not everybody loves Christmas, but everybody has their own version of Christmas.
Yeah.
And because it's often a tradition or something they've been doing for years and years and years, people are quite precious about it.
Yeah.
And are quite sort of forthright in what Christmas should or shouldn't be, because based on what it is for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be a hard one with all the different opinions flying around.
Yeah. Yeah. I always kind of felt like sometimes you wouldn't even get to a yes or a no because there was such a long debate.
So
in the middle of the sign-up.
People sharing stories of like what happened on Christmas at their house.
Yeah.
Therefore why we should or shouldn't do something.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people in the room are just like, why are we talking about this for 2 hours when we need to move on to the next thing, you know? But it's an emotive subject. And I'm quite happy that they're passionate about it. I think you have like such a high profile when you're buying Christmas, don't you, for the company? So anyway, that brings us to the end.
It does. I've really enjoyed that walk down Christmas memory lane. I've particularly enjoyed my glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit here every episode with a wine, although we do say grab your drink of choice and join us.
Yes.
But it has been nice to feel like we've got a bit merry.
We have. So, what are our takeaways? Number 1, Black Friday, the debate. Should you or shouldn't you? What feels right for your brand? Remember, you need to repeat those numbers next year. Are you just bringing forward sales that could still come with more profit? Number 2, Christmas is all about being creative. Don't be afraid to try those bold themes, but remember, traditional will always be in style. And let's make Christmas more environmentally friendly. There's so many great new techniques out there. And number 3, everyone will have an opinion in the sign-off. Stay true to your customer. Don't let emotion get in the way of a decision.
And that's it. That's a wrap.
That brings us to the end of the episode. Wow, and the end of the season.
And the end of the year.
And the end of the year. We made it, guys. Everybody have an absolutely fantastic Christmas.
Yeah, have a great Christmas and see you.
And we'll be back in the new year.
See you next year.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please, please, please like and subscribe and leave a review.
And if you already have, thank you, thank you, thank you. We all need a bit of retail therapy. And this is the perfect time for you to offload about that super cringeworthy story. We would love to hear from you all, your funny stories and experiences, or even any dilemmas. And maybe we can help, or at least find someone who can. And don't worry, we will keep these anonymous and remove any names and brands.
We would also love to hear from you on any topics you would like us to talk about. Please send all of these into buyingandbeyond@gmail.com or drop us a DM via our Instagram page @buyingandbeyond. Kate, are you a drama queen?
No,
Drama just makes things interesting.
that's true.
All these thoughts and opinions are our own and based on our own experiences working for a wide variety of retailers. These are all in the hope to entertain and educate, and not to reflect negatively on any place we currently or have previously worked.